Hey, welcome to Brightworks. What are we doing? We are putting in this very fancy speed controller. It's a digital speed controller for the blower motor. So before I get too far into it, you've got to pull this guy out and you have to drill out the rivets that hold the old resistor pack in there. And then what's going to happen is this guy is going to go in there, but we're going to attach the black part first with the two bottom screws, and then we'll use the two supplied screws from Griffiths to put them in. All that extra wiring, that's all Sirius XM BS. All right, we're gonna get on with it, and yeah, we'll see. The goal here is to go to a switch that basically is completely variable. It doesn't have 3 detents. So we'll see how this works out. All right, we are making progress. There is quite a bit of fab work here. This is not what I would call plug and play. I don't think it was sold as plug and play. It's probably the most efficient way to do it. But yeah, we got this in. Not, you know, no big deal there. We haven't even connected the wires yet. But I was wondering, why were there 6 pages of instructions to install a switch? It's not just a switch, it's the controller. There's this little LED indicator, which the idea is pretty cool. I don't know if I would do that too much more often, if I'd put that in again. But yeah. And then basically you're only really using 2 wires from the car harness. Everything else, you know, I taped up, kind of put back there. This is just your coiled up thermostatic tube or whatever they call it, and it's just wrapped with some gummy fledge, so that's why it just looks nasty. But what was interesting is that hole is not supposed to be there. So somewhere something got hot, and I don't think it was recently. I think it was sometime in the past, because most of the wiring had already been cut out and stuff like that. So we're going back in to do that. Some of the wire routing, right, this is a, you know, they send you a flat cable, which when you look at it, you go, why is it flat? And then you go to install it and you go, shit, it's got to go into the carpet. No wonder it's flat. So that's a nice little feature there. But we haven't gotten all that stuff. There's a ground wire that you have to make. So if you're not into splicing and, you know, cutting and drilling little holes and things like that, this is probably better left to a shop than a DIY guy. But again, nothing that's impossible, just a lot more fab work than I thought there was going to be. Who knew? All right, we're going to get on with it and quit whining. All right, when we were in the passenger footwell, you saw this red and black wire. So this red and black wire comes off the controller. That is the thing that's screwed into the foot plate down there. And then what you do is you take your fan power wire and you disconnect it from the original harness, right? And I've already snaked that back out of the way so that it doesn't hit the steering column. So now your fan is going to be drawing power from these 2 wires. So I used a little bit different connector than what was set in the box, just because I was looking for something that was a little bit more weatherproof. This particular car lives about 500 yards from the ocean. So, you know, a little bit different thought process goes into repairing this car because of how close it is. Even though it is an air-conditioned spot, it's still extremely susceptible to corrosion. All right, well, we're gonna make those connections, and then we've got one more connection just to make inside the car. And before we button everything up, we're gonna check and see if it works the way it's supposed to. So we'll be back. Just one more quick word on that red and black wire that you saw. So this grommet is a through body grommet, right? This is your firewall right here. So what you have to do is you have to pull the grommet down to where you have access to it. Now, if your EVAP box is out, easy kill. If the EVAP box is in like you saw, you're gonna have to take this all the way out, because you're gonna have to feed enough wire to get it underneath all of the stuff that wants to be in the way. So once we, as a part of buttoning things back up, we'll reinsert this grommet into the firewall up there. But right now, all we've got to do is connect this to this, and then we'll turn the key on. So I'm gonna make that connection, and we'll see. You guys can come with us. Oh, yeah. On this particular car, there are no hash marks on the face of the, well, whatchamacallit, the gauge cluster there, or the switch cluster. So it does not matter how you orient this, because there's a click, off, on, and then you turn it in. I guess it's, you know, an infinite switch. But if you have hash marks, right, you see where I have the little notch here pointing up at about 2 o'clock, because that's where you'll naturally see it sitting in the driver's seat. If your hash marks are here, here, and here, you'll have to rotate the body of the switch, and it's just held on with it's just held on with a 14 millimeter nut. So not the hardest thing in the world. Since this one didn't have hash marks, I figured, okay, let me just put it in a spot where it's kind of easy to see up there towards the top. But this is your thermostat side. It doesn't really matter where it sits. You know, goal is just to get it back in there. All right, we're gonna actually run a test. All right, I got that plug connected, so turn the key to on. And now we will come over here and let's see if we get any fan. Oh, I heard the compressor come on. We got an orange light, and oh, that's a lot of fan. Oh, that's really nice. That's a nice ad. All right, well, I'm gonna have to go figure out if the orange light's a good thing or a bad thing. I kind of was expecting green, but hey, see, it's green. That's actually a bad green. If you see that one, you're in trouble. So we're gonna get on with it, and our last step will be fire up the car and see if we can cool it down. All right, I got this little lady running. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Oh wow. That's kind of awesome. Not hearing any odd noise. Now, we know the compressor's on, but we're gonna check anyway. So yeah, you can see the compressor is engaged because the inner clutch is spinning. So it's kind of sitting here. Even these little side vents are blowing out cold air. Wow. So my understanding, if I read the instructions right, the orangish, greenish that we see there means that the clutch is engaged. So once that temperature, I guess the way the thermostat is going to work is once it senses that the evaporator is getting too cold, it'll turn the compressor off, and that'll go green. And green means, yeah, your fan's working, but your compressor's not on, which is absolutely normal. It cycles. So before anybody goes and starts dialing for dollars, that's normal. It's just one more little fun indicator. I got to tell you, folks, this is, and I'm not even, sometimes we call it cheating when you're trying to get certain vent temperatures. I have no fan blowing at the front of the car, and you can see it's just kind of sitting here in the workshop. I got nice, constant cold air. So, you know, that front condenser is barely getting cooled. The rear condenser, we're running at 850 RPM. So if we pick up the idle, it'll probably even get colder. Yeah, all right, I'm happy with this. Wow. Not a bad install. The kit was amazing. Kit had everything in it that you could possibly want. But, you know, when Pelican forums, or Pelican has those tech articles, this is a 4 wrench, maybe a 5, depending on how familiar you really are with everything that's underneath there. So I would absolutely encourage you to consider this upgrade. But for the DIY guys, this might be a step too far. Anyway, turn that fan down. Oh man, just that Whirlmeister fan is fantastic. Have a fantastic day. Check us out at brightworks.com, and thanks for watching.